Hey gang, it's Scott, and this is my video on the Ryan Chattaway movie marathon, 24-hour movie marathon challenge. What you're about to see in this video is the highlight clips of my attempt to do that, and for those of you who wanted to know right away whether or not I made it through the full 24 hours, I'd like to take this time to tell you that I did not. I did not make it through the entire 24-hour period. I didn't fall asleep exactly, but I just I got to a point where I really just couldn't continue on. This doesn't bode well for any future attempts that I make at doing this 24-hour marathon. Though I really enjoyed the whole experience, suddenly I realized I just couldn't continue on anymore. So before you waste your time watching the entire video to find out whether or not I made it through, I thought I'd just tell you right up front that I didn't get to do that. I fell short by about 4 hours. So anyway, for those of you who would like to continue watching, I invite you to do so, and here are the highlight clips from the marathon. It's 8:05 a.m. and this is the Chattaway Challenge.
Mutation. It is the key to our evolution. It has enabled us to evolve from a single-celled organism into the dominant species on the planet. This process is slow, normally taking thousands and thousands of years. But every few hundred millennia, evolution leaps forward.
This new tripod of mine doesn't swivel quite so easily as the last one. So, obviously, of course, that was the first X-Men movie, and therefore, my choice for favorite film. Of course, I am going to be drawing on a great number of movies from my own collection this time around. The last time I did the Chattaway Challenge, I actually went out and bought a bunch of movies, secondhand, of course, so that I could fill out all the requirements. Of course, I had a lot more requirements for the challenge versus this time. I actually took some of the rules from the first year and added them on just because I wanted more criteria to satisfy. It would help me narrow down my choices. But in case you weren't aware already of what the rules are, one favorite movie, one movie at least three hours or longer, one movie that is underrated, one movie that is a box office flop, and one foreign language film. So, I've just knocked off what could be considered a favorite because it is my favorite of the X-Men movies, at least so far. It's been many years since I've seen the first X-Men movie, and it's a bit cheesier than I remember. But I do find it quite satisfying. It's a well-written movie. I like some of the set pieces, especially the one at the end. But a lot of the fight choreography does look a little silly, and some of the costumes aren't quite as cool as they once were. Not really sure why Magneto and Storm both have capes. And not all the acting is all that strong, but I do, in particular, like Ian McKellen and Hugh Jackman, and Bruce Davison as Senator Kelly. I think that they're both, all three of those people are pretty decent. I like the way that the script functions with them confused about whether or not Magneto is after Wolverine or after Rogue. But a lot of the events point towards Rogue. For example, once in the very first fight scene, after Sabretooth knocks out Wolverine, he heads to the camper to retrieve Rogue. Of course, they don't know that he's doing that, but that's what's happening. And of course, once Rogue ends up at the school and has her little accident with Wolverine, the other boy, Bobby, shows up and says that Professor X is furious and that she should just leave. Of course, this is actually Mystique in disguise, getting her away from all the other mutants where she won't be protected so that Magneto can grab her. Nice writing and good dialogue too. Joss Whedon had a hand in some of the dialogue, so of course I'm very pleased about that. A lot of good Hugh Jackman one-liners in this, and he's really good at playing a perpetually irritated. Looking forward to seeing him in the new film as well. So, as I said, this is the Chattaway Challenge. It's the 24-hour movie marathon. I started at 8 a.m., which means I'm going to be finishing around 8 a.m. tomorrow, but about 5 of the films that I've selected are all going to be X-Men movies, because I was planning on doing a little X-Men marathon before the new one comes out on Memorial Day weekend. That's, of course, X-Men Days of Future Past. It is once again directed by Bryan Singer. Yay for that. I know he's had some legal issues lately, but I think it's pretty much BS. I don't lend any credence to the accusations against him, and I'm just looking forward to, seeing him at the helm of another X-Men movie, which should be quite spectacular. The first 5 films in my marathon are all pretty much taken care of. I'm just going to pop them in one after another, and I'm going to have a friend join me actually later today for the final 2. But I'll be watching X-Men and X2, both directed by Bryan Singer. X-Men: The Last Stand, directed by Brett Ratner, of course, which will qualify as my underrated movie, seeing as how so many people seem to hate that one. But I don't. I think it's pretty decent. At least I have. Maybe when I see it this time I won't like it as much. After that, I'll follow up with The Wolverine, which came out last year and was directed by James Mangold. Sorry, my throat is particularly rough today. I haven't spoken yet today. And after that, X-Men First Class, which of course has the new cast from the 60s. And we'll be seeing both them and the original cast in Days of Future Past. I'm very excited about that. So yeah, and after that, once I've taken care of all those, that'll be like the first 10 hours of the marathon. That'll have about another 14 hours to fill, but I'll be doing that with movies here in my collection. I'll be showing them off once I do. So right now I finished up X-Men, so it's on to the next one. We've got a few people that have done videos already. TheLastKingOfScolboa and Matticus Tattooi and DVD Collector 1974 have all posted videos on their own marathons, and I expect soon we'll be seeing not only videos from Razor Wire reviews, but also, of course, Ryan Chattaway himself. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. We'll see more of me talking about each of these films throughout the day, and I'll be talking about how I feel about each one of them. And some other stuff as well. I'll be doing going out, getting some food at some point. It's nice out, finally. It's not raining, it's not cold, so I'll bring the camera with me as I journey out and do other stuff. And I'm not going to be doing the Facebook updates this time. It's just, I'd rather not just have the computer on for that long. But I'm going to be recording myself as per usual, as is, required in the terms of the challenge. So, yeah, on to the next movie.
Mutants. Since the discovery of their existence, they have been regarded with fear, suspicion, often hatred. Across the planet, debate rages. Are mutants the next link in the evolutionary chain, or simply a new species of humanity fighting for their share in the world? Either way, it is an historical fact. Sharing the world has never been humanity's defining attribute.
process is slow, normally taking thousands and thousands of years. But every few hundred millennia, evolution leaps forward.
X2, otherwise known as X-Men United, at least when the movie came out, they added that to the marketing materials. That would have been a good title, I thought, rather than simply X2. Anyway, yeah, I don't like this movie as much as the previous one, and that's, I think, largely due to what happens at the end. Not the very end. You probably will be remembered by, reminded by Star Trek 2, of Star Trek 2, by that, because instead of Patrick Stewart doing that little narration there, it's Famke Janssen. And of course, you know what happens to her in X2. And then, of course, she comes back in X3, making that like Search for Spock. Anyway, a lot of people compared this movie to The Empire Strikes Back when it came out. But I don't put it up that highly up there. I think that the problem with the whole climax is that there's so much going on. There's so many different characters doing all kinds of different stuff, and it just takes a while to grind through all those plot points. And then when they finally manage to get most of the good guys back onto the jet won't work, and the flood is coming, and Famke Janssen has to like leave the jet and shut the door so no one else comes out so she can use her power and deflect the water while she lifts the jet up in the air. I'm thinking, couldn't she just have done that while she was on the jet? Did she actually have to go out there and die? I mean, she managed to, they can't get the jet working, and she manages to get everything working remotely, right? Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Also, Mystique's powers bothered me more in this movie than they have in probably any other film, with the exception of The Last Stand, the next movie in which she actually shrinks down and resembles a tiny girl. I don't know how she's able to do that. I don't know how she's able to replicate Wolverine's claws or the little points on the head of the Statue of Liberty that she replicates in the first movie. You know, and to say that she's able to exactly replicate people's fingerprints or their retinas for retina scanning is just a ridiculous superpower. It's just completely unbelievable. Yeah. Other than that, though, it's a fine film. You know, a fun movie. But yeah, I don't like it nearly as much as a lot of other people. And of course, I like X-Men: The Last Stand a lot more than most X-Men fans. Of course, not really being a hardcore X-Men comics fan, and never probably having ever read an X-Men comic in my whole life. I'm pretty much just going by what the movies are all about. I did see X-Men Origins Wolverine, but you know, there's just heaps and heaps of BS in that movie, you know, that I just couldn't buy for a second. So I'm not including it in this particular marathon. Particularly the way that they spell out the memory loss for Logan. It's like, in this movie they talk about the fact that he volunteered for the project with the adamantium, but that would also include memory loss, in which he was aware of that, and he had volunteered for that for some reason. And that's a question that still hasn't been answered, why he would do that. Certainly wasn't answered by the Origin movie. So yeah, I'm totally ignoring that one. Yeah, good. So it's about 12:15, and I've gotten through 2 movies so far. And I expect my friend over sometime during the course of the next film. But since it's been about 8 hours since I've had anything to eat, I'm going to go grab some lunch, and then I'm going to start on the next movie. So, see you in a little bit. Beautiful day out today. Beautiful day. So back deck there under construction. Looks pretty close to done. Nice. And also Halle Berry. Had a lot of complaints about her performance in the first movie, but as it turns out, you probably know this if you've seen the deleted scenes on that film. She originally delivered all her lines in an African accent, and then they decided, you know, it would be better if she just spoke in a straight American accent or natural accent. So in the first movie, her entire role is post-dubbed, which, you know, isn't really conducive to good acting. In this movie, of course, in X2, she's much better, so that's cool. It's so nice out there. Not only did I not need a jacket, I didn't need a sweater either.
Yeah, and I have to stay here.
Sorry about that. Does it get really hot with the ovens and everything like that?
No, I mean the connection is working, but still. Just want to enjoy the nice weather.
Thanks. There you go, Sarpinos. Your name all over my video. Thanks for the millions of dollars. Well, got my pizza. Got the third movie queued up. My pick for underrated film, X-Men: The Last Stand, directed by Mr. Brett Ratner. What's wrong with this tripod? Shit, he can walk! Wow!
I still don't know why I'm here.
Okay, so this is Jack. You may remember him from the video on Kevin Bacon, which is on my channel and on the collab channel as well. And we've just finished watching X-Men: The Last Stand, which you only got to see like the second half of, but still. And you'd seen it before, of course. Right?
Only when it came out in the theater.
Right, so that was like 8 years ago. So, overall impression, overall reaction?
The same as when I saw it the first time. I enjoyed it, but, you know, moderately. I only remembered two things from the movie, which was in the middle section when Jean Grey trashes the entire house, and then at the end when the, you know, spoiler alert, like with Magneto in the chess piece.
The chess piece?
When he holds his hand up and it moves.
Right, yeah.
To show that he still has his powers.
You don't remember anything about the last battle or anything like that?
No, because that part didn't interest me again this time.
Oh, okay.
It was...
Yeah.
I like more of the character development in the whole series.
You know, one thing I noticed about all three of these X-Men movies is that Charles Xavier is absent from the climax for all three movies, except kind of the second one. In the second one, he's basically operating under a delusion, but he's locked away in this room with a mutant that can control his mind and make him do other stuff. But he's incapacitated during the climax for the first movie, and in the third movie, he's actually dead. He's been disintegrated, so yeah, he's gone. Because apparently he's too powerful. He could just reach out and just like control everyone on the battlefield with his mind. So I guess they had to like leave him out of every climax in order to let that happen. Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, I mean there's some silly parts in this, but overall I like it. I like a lot of the way it's shot. I like a lot of the visuals in it. I like the story too. The story is really cool, especially when it's all sort of down to whether or not people think that the cure is a good idea or not. And in Rogue's case, it's definitely a good idea. I mean, she's done her part to like help the good mutants, but there's only so much that she can do. and by and large her mutation just seems to be a real hindrance to her having a life. So the fact that she goes and gets the cure in the end is like totally understandable. I mean, you know, I'm sympathetic.
Yeah, that was an interesting piece.
Yeah. Everyone else, though, definitely, you know, benefits from having powers. Some of the powers are a little vague. In X2, you saw Mystique doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and I'm wondering if it's not just like she's a super athlete. I wonder if she has super strength as well, because she manages to break out of these restraints that have her like strapped like this, that are like solid metal, and I didn't hear anything about her having like super strength. She's like a martial arts expert, and she's really good with like computers, and she can fly helicopters and all kinds of stuff. Not to mention changing her appearance, but I didn't hear anything about super strength. I don't know. Does she have like a super strong whatever?
I don't know. I haven't followed the comics that. You know, the X-Men comics I read didn't have Mystique in them.
Well, anyway, yeah. I mean, a lot of people rag on this. I think largely because of Jean Grey and her storyline. But you know, not having read the comics, I can't compare it. So it worked just fine for me. I mean, she's just like sort of out of control in this. And I think probably the problem that I would have, if anything, with that is that they didn't do anything to establish this uncontrollable dark side that she supposedly has in the first two movies. It isn't even brought up or anything like that. It's just something that they introduce here. So that might be a little sloppy. Aside from that, you know, it's a very decent, fun flick. You know, a lot of good effects. You know, I'm cool with it. I'm generally cool with it. Yeah. Good. All right. Yeah. Well, our next movie is going to be The Wolverine, which came out last year, and it's.
I've never seen it.
Yeah. Good. Good. And I've only seen it the one time, so that'll be cool. We'll get to see Hugh Jackman hanging out in Japan, which takes place after The Last Stand.
Oh, this is The Wolverine?
The Wolverine. Yeah.
From last year?
This isn't X-Men Origins Wolverine. No.
Oh, okay. The Origins I haven't seen, so.
Good, don't.
Okay.
You should probably not see that.
I'm probably in for a better movie now.
Probably, yeah. So we'll watch The Wolverine, and then we'll watch First Class, which is sort of the movie that leads into Days of Future Past, which is about to come out.
Cool. Excellent.
All right, great. Hello, it is now almost 5:30. We finished The Wolverine, and then we went out for a little errand, got ourselves some snacks and what have you, and we're ready to start the final of the 5 X-Men movies we're watching, and that's X-Men First Class. The Wolverine was directed by James Mangold, and originally Hugh Jackman was going to make the movie with Darren Aronofsky because they had made The Fountain together, but Darren Aronofsky had some custody issues with Rachel Weisz when they split up, so he bowed out, didn't want to spend months and months in Japan, wanted to stay in the States, and so Hugh Jackman got James Mangold to do it instead because he worked with him on Kate Leopold, which was a comedy he did with Meg Ryan. Did you ever see that one?
I don't think so.
Kate Leopold. It's about, he's like this 18th century guy who gets transported to the present, New York City, and so he has to deal with her, you know, a modern lady and everything like that. And he's all old-fashioned. It's a fun movie, you know. But Mangold's like a real sort of chameleon when it comes to genre. You can't pin him down everywhere. He did 3:10 to Yuma, he did Identity, he did Walk the Line, he did Copland. He's just done a wide variety of stuff.
Yeah.
So how'd you like this movie?
I liked it on the second viewing. And I like you said, I enjoyed the fact that they stayed in Japan for the whole movie. Mm-hmm. It provided focus.
Yeah. I like it too. It's a good standalone movie. It doesn't really pertain too much to all the other stuff that keeps going on. Except they have, of course, what went on with Jean Grey. He had to kill Jean Grey at the end of The Last Stand, and so that sort of plays into it. So it was nice to see both those movies back to back, because otherwise I would just like, all right, Jean Grey, you know. But yeah, it's a nice reminder of that. What else was I going to say? Gosh, I can't remember now. I was thinking, I remember. When I first saw the movie, I thought it was totally ridiculous who the bad guy turns out to be. But now, when I'm watching the second time, I see that it's actually set up fairly nicely throughout the movie. There are all these sort of hints as to what's coming.
I caught a hint early on that I didn't catch on the first viewing.
When the clairvoyant girl says she didn't see his death, is that what you mean?
Right.
Yeah. But then again, she didn't see the actual death either, which was odd. You know, she says, "Oh, I saw
true.
Hugh Jackman's death. I saw him with his heart in his hands," which is kind of what happened. But you know, she didn't see how the guy really died. The villain really died. So that's another problem I have with Minority Report.
Maybe she got shot with the mutant cure.
Nah, I don't think so. She still seems pretty mutant-like. Yeah. That was my problem with Minority Report, because it was like Samantha Morton sees only just so much to make everybody think that Tom Cruise did it, but none of the extenuating circumstances, the other stuff around it. And when the guy, in the end of the movie, the real culprit, the villain, manages to sort of fake a murder and then commit it for real in order to get someone else caught, it's not like his name would have shown up as the murderer. If that technology worked the way that they said it does, his name would have shown up. It didn't make a lot of sense. So, anyway, that's the whole problem with clairvoyant people. You know, the future never turns out the way that they predict, or if it does, it's just like, I don't know. Anyway, but Wolverine's a decent movie. So yeah, but yeah, that it ends with him meeting Xavier and Magneto again. But we're going to have to find out what all that happens until all that stuff is going on in the new X-Men movie, Days of Future Past. So now we're going to watch First Class, which I've seen a bunch of times on cable, but I'm looking forward to it again because it's fun. Okay, it is somewhere between 7:30 and 7:45, which means that I've been watching films for approximately 11 and a half hours. I started at about 8:05 with the first film, and so we just finished X-Men First Class. And we've been joking about all the incredible implausibilities, including the scene at the beach when all the missiles are flying at him. And they're like, why doesn't the teleporting guy just get them all out of there? That seems like an easy solution. But they didn't do that, and Charles got paralyzed and joked about going bald. And Magneto got his new helmet painted red. So yeah, it's all a big setup for the next one, it seems like. So, overall, you like the movie?
I have so many thoughts about it. I went into this remembering that I liked it the best of all the X-Men, and then I found a bunch of flaws with it, but I still feel like visually it looks like the comic books, and I like the idea of all the origins and of a starting place, and so it might be my favorite one.
Yeah.
And as I watched the Blackbird flying around, it made me wonder if that's the same ship that they have in Firefox with Clint Eastwood.
No, I don't think it is. I've seen the plane in Firefox. I saw it on cable a couple of years ago. It's not quite the same design. I mean, it looks like the actual stealth fighter, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Those two massive cylindrical turbines.
I think this one's the SR-71.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good-looking ship. The effects do look really, really great overall. You know, the whole sequence where they're lifting the submarine out of the water at the end. You know, it looks really nice. It's a nice-looking movie. But yeah, there's a lot of quibbles about the logic of certain moments. The thing that really bothered me when I first saw the movie, and it still bothers me, is that Mystique can apparently change her appearance even when she's wearing an overcoat or an X-Men suit on it. And I didn't think that she was supposed to be able to do that. That's why she walks around without any clothes on, because she can imitate not only people's faces and voices, but whatever outfit they're supposed to be wearing. And how can she do that if she's still wearing an overcoat? She can't change that surface. She can only change the surface of their skin, or so I thought. I mean, in some of the movies, she even changes size. She gets bigger, she gets smaller, she resembles a little girl at one point. You know, it's a ridiculous superpower. Of all the superpowers, it just seems very implausible. But, I mean, they're all implausible, but that one especially so. So, that one I have an issue with that. There's a lot of good scenes in the movie, though. Yeah. I mean, I like all the actors in it. They're all really good, so, yeah. That's why I'm so excited for the new movies, just to see this cast play these characters more. And time travel. I like time travel movies, too, so that's fun. So, that's 5 X-Men movies in a row. We could definitely use a change of pace. And we were talking about watching Kingdom of Heaven, the extended director's cut for the 3-hour movie. Does that sound still good?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We'll watch that one next. Yeah, we are going out for a bite to eat. Just in the middle of our 3-hour choice, Kingdom of Heaven by Ridley Scott. it's the extended director's cut that is 3 hours, not the original theatrical version, which is why I've never actually seen that version. It's getting on towards midnight. We just finished Kingdom of Heaven, a very grand, epic film. Wouldn't you agree? Michael Sheen, that's who I was trying to think of. Michael Sheen played Orlando Bloom's brother. I just couldn't remember the guy's name.
Briefly.
Yes, he was in the very beginning of the movie. I have a strong feeling that I spotted someone from Game of Thrones in this movie, although it could be just the costumes, the general, production design influencing me. Nope, that's him right there. Nikolaj Coster-Waldau. Yes, he's on Game of Thrones. I knew that I recognized him. At least I thought I did. So, how'd you like it?
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't have any expectations going in, and I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, it's a real epic, with huge mass numbers of people on screen, and not CGI extras. Some shots, I'm sure, were CGI, some of the big epic shots, but man, they had a lot of stuff that looks like they built it for real,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something else. And I like the story too. I mean, it gets a little hard to follow at times, but yeah, it's certainly worth paying attention to. Gorgeous too. Gorgeous photography, and yeah, some great battle scenes. It seems kind of old-fashioned to me, aside from the excess bloodshed. It seems kind of more of an old-fashioned type of epic film, which is cool, sometimes. So, how are you doing? How's your energy level?
I think I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I gotta cut out.
Okay. Well, I still got a couple more to go. 4 hours. I can squeeze in... No, 8. I have 8 hours to go, which means I can squeeze in another 4 movies.
No problem.
Yeah, no problem, right. But I'll pick high energy ones. Keep my blood up. Well, in that case, I'll say thank you very much for coming over and sharing this.
Oh, it was lots of fun.
Good. I watched all the X-Men movies as rentals. I don't own any of them, but since I'm now switching over to movies I did own, I just want to show off this set of Kingdom of Heaven, the director's extended edition. It's a 4-disc set, 2 discs for the movies, right there, and 2 discs for extra features. It's quite a nice set. I haven't actually looked at any of the extras yet on this, and I've had this for a couple of years. I've only seen the movie 3 times at this point, which is a lot for, an epic like this. Normally I don't even bother with movies like these, but this is a good one, and I'm glad I got a chance to see this. It's normally like $40 when it came out. I picked this up for like $15, so that was quite good. But I wasn't going to see the theatrical version because it was 45 minutes shorter, and I wanted to see the actual full edition. The next film I'm going to be doing is my foreign language pick, and it is Y Tu Mamá Tambien by Alfonso Cuarón, the director of Gravity and Children of Men and Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This movie was my favorite film of 2002 and one of the very best movies of the previous decade. So, Y Tu Mamá Tambien is next. So, I've just finished Y Tu Mamá Tambien, and it is about 10 minutes to 2 a.m., which means I have enough time for another 3 2-hour movies of 2 hours or less. That one was my foreign language selection. I still have to do a box office flop. I've done a favorite, I've done an underrated movie, I've done a 3-hour movie, I've done a foreign language movie, so yeah, I need to do a flop next. I was going to do Zodiac, but it's well over 2 hours, and I'm thinking maybe if I pick something less than 2 hours, then I can squeeze in 3 whole movies easily. But I don't know. I haven't picked anything yet. If you weren't already familiar, Y Tu Mamá Tambien, excuse me if I'm pronouncing that badly, is a Mexican film which stars Gael Garcia Bernal. I always can't pronounce that guy's name. I have the credit basically on screen right now, so that's like my cue card. What it is him and Diego Luna basically meet the wife of an older cousin of Diego Luna's. And she's this very beautiful woman, and they're really sort of taken by her, so they sort of make up a story about how they're going to take this road trip out to this really incredible beach, isolated out in the middle of nowhere. It's beautiful, there's no tourists, it's lovely, and you should come along. They say you should come along. Well, when she learns that her husband has cheated on her away on a business trip, the woman, who's played by Maribel Verdú, I don't know anything else she's been in. She says to him, she calls him up and says, "Hey, I'd really like to go on the trip with him." And they're like, "Really? Okay, let's go." So they scramble and they pack their stuff and they plan a half-assed trip at the last second. And then they go pick her up and they go on this big road trip and they talk about each other, they talk about themselves, they talk about their romantic lives, they talk about sex. The whole movie is just basically a lot about sex, but it's also about life and about, it's about a lot of stuff. And one of the cool things, aside from just Alfonso Cuarón's style of capturing whole scenes in these long extended takes that he likes to do, is the way that the movie will suddenly, the sound will just shut off all of a sudden, and the narration will come on. The narration is not by any particular character, it's an omniscient narrator, and he'll be describing things that basically just pertain only to, like, people that they just pass by on the road. All this sort of history, and all this stuff is just like completely irrelevant to the main storyline, but it's great. It provides a lot of flavor, and it's a terrific movie, just a fantastic movie. I love it. It's great to see it again. I saw it in the theater, and I've seen it a couple times, but I've owned a copy of it for a while, and so it was good to see it again. So I have to pick up box office flop now, and I'll get back to you on that in a minute. Well, it's 4:15 in the morning. I've got about 3 hours and 45 minutes left to go in the marathon. The Life of David Gale is the movie that I just finished. It was directed by Alan Parker, who did movies like Angel Heart and The Commitments, Mississippi Burning, Evita, variety of stuff. I know very few people that have seen this movie, and even less that like it. It was not a success at the box office, as far as I can tell. So I designated it as it's my designated flop for this marathon. Basically, this is a kind of a mystery. The main character is a journalist for New York Magazine played by Kate Winslet. And the job that she gets, she's been specifically requested by a death row convict played by Kevin Spacey to interview him around the circumstances leading up to his arrest for rape and murder of Laura Linney before he is executed. He's put to death. He's telling his side of the story, and there's some possible evidence to suggest that he might not have done it, but so far all attempts at proving this have been futile, and he is all set to be to go to the lethal injection chamber in just a few days' time. While Kate Winslet really doesn't believe that he's innocent at first, his story becomes more convincing to her as time goes on, and then she digs further in her spare time around the sessions that she has with him. There is another film that Kevin Spacey was in called The Usual Suspects, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. And if you're familiar with this movie, if you've seen this movie, you know exactly what the whole sort of twist is. The twist essentially is that Kevin Spacey in that movie is also taking a great deal of time to tell a story, much like he is in The Life of David Gale. And in both cases, it turns out that some of what he says is false. He's flat out lying. Now, why is it that people absolutely adore The Usual Suspects and that character, but absolutely detest the David Gale character, despite the fact that he's doing basically the same thing with a completely different intention? And yet it's still like, Roger Ebert gave this movie 0 stars, largely because of this revelation at the end, that the character that Kevin Spacey's playing, wasn't honest with Kate Winslet during his interview, that there's stuff that he deliberately withheld, and is very good about acting like he didn't know things that he actually did know, much like Verbal in The Usual Suspects. And yet they hated this movie. I had this discussion with someone about a film, about whether or not a movie can be considered bad simply because the main character is unlikable. And I'm like, no. Okay? I mean, there are such things as charismatic killers and gangsters and what have you, and people just adore them. They think they're great characters. Look at Hannibal Lecter. Look at Anton Chigurh. But for some reason, people just didn't take to the Kevin Spacey character in this movie. And those that watched it really hated it. I think this is a great movie, actually. Well, maybe not great, but it's certainly better than awful. Way better. There's a few kind of melodramatic moments, but it's a fine picture. You know, it's you know, and I get really emotionally involved when I see it. Oh, and check this out. There's a scene in which Kate Winslet goes to the crime scene where she finds like this college girl living here. She's sort of punky, you know, she's dresses in black, wears heavy eyeliner, has piercings and what have you. Generally is you know, sort of an unpleasant person, or at least is just sort of, anyway. The door opens and it's Melissa McCarthy. I'd completely forgotten. I didn't even realize, I had no idea who she was back then when this movie was made. And of course she didn't look like anything that she normally did in movies before she did, you know, before she became famous. That was really cool. Yeah, so, yeah, it's a heck of a movie. And also there's a bit of score, a recurring theme in this movie that's being used in a lot of trailers, like for Milk with Sean Penn and Munich, the Spielberg film, and The Artist, the black and white movie about the silent movie star. Really liked this movie a lot, got really emotionally involved this time, and yeah, it's something else, really. I just don't understand why people will hate on a movie just because they don't like the main character. Well, I kind of understand that, but I'm just like, with Ebert, it's just like, why would he do that? I don't get it. He just didn't like the twist, the last minute revelation, you know, sort of. I had this thing with, what was the movie I saw earlier? Darn it. My thoughts are a little scattered right now. Anyway, I'm going to shut up about this because I only have so much time to do this, and I need to start another movie, so I'm going to do that now. So, of course, at this point, you can probably tell that I'm sort of hanging on for dear life at that point. I rambled on a long time about that last film. But I eventually picked Rachel Getting Married. I went through my entire collection and tried and find something suitable that I would enjoy and that I hadn't seen recently. And Rachel Getting Married, which is a drama with Anne Hathaway, seemed like a good choice at the time. But I got so involved in the previous couple of movies, Y Tu Mamá También and The Life of David Gale. And Rachel Getting Married is sort of the semi-improvised drama with a lot of handheld camera work and just like a lot of rambling dialogue, and it just wasn't the kind of tight film that I needed to watch. In retrospect, I think that maybe if I'd put in the Denzel Washington movie Deja Vu, that would have been a good choice, but really, who's to say at that point? When I started watching the movie, after about 20 minutes, I realized that my mind was wandering too much. I kept thinking about what the movie I was going to watch after that would be, and I kept thinking about The Life of David Gale, which I was really into, but I wasn't really paying attention to what I was watching at that time, and so I wasn't really involved, and it just didn't seem like there was any point in continuing if I couldn't actually concentrate on the movie that I was watching, and if I had to start over with a brand new movie, it just like didn't seem like a good idea. Yeah. So I just decided, you know what, after 20 minutes of not really watching this movie, only half watching it, there doesn't seem to be any point in continuing, and I really did want to get to sleep. I value my sleep very much. I enjoy sleeping. I enjoy lying in bed and feeling relaxed, and I enjoy dreaming, of course, and putting that off just seemed less and less agreeable. So after about 20 minutes of the film, I said, you know what, I'm turning it off. So I didn't shoot any video after that for the night. I just sort of put everything away and went to bed. So I wanted to make a little video summarizing, well, I don't need feel I need to really summarize the entire marathon, as you've seen. You can probably, I talked quite a bit about the films that I saw during the whole thing, whereas I didn't do that so much last time. But Ryan says everyone needs to do a review of the after each film in the marathon. So try to do that as best as I could. But yeah, it was around 4:30 in the morning. I'm just like, no, I don't think I can do this anymore. I really do need to get to bed. So unfortunately, I couldn't complete it. Sorry about that. But I want to give my kudos to the people that have. So far, I've seen marathons from James, DVD Collector 1974, and Matticus Tattooi, and... Oh, yes, of course, TheLastKingOfScolboa. Sorry, I didn't remember for a moment there. And I understand that both Ryan and Luke, Razor Wire Reviews, they've both done the marathon, and if their videos haven't been posted up already today, they will be hopefully very soon. And once they are, I will include links to those guys, all the marathons that I come across, in the description on this video, so you can check it out. Thanks very much for watching. Appreciate it. Sorry I didn't come through like you were hoping I would. I failed in my mission, but I did manage to get through 24 hours back in December, so at least I got through it one time. However, this doesn't exactly encourage me to do it again, unfortunately. I might try again next year. I don't know. No promises. No promises there. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Appreciate it. See you again soon. Bye.